To unpack today's proceedings at the Madlanga Commission, we are joined on our virtual platform by independent security expert, Dr. Mxolisi Mathebula. Doc, good evening to you, and thank you so much for your time. So, another day, a second witness is coming forward to tell us what was, what they believe, according to their own version of events, was taking place. And this comes just after we heard from Advocate Andrea Johnson. So, what are we to read in all of this? Did she, as the witness said yesterday, hoodwinked the commission? Or what picture is starting to emerge?
Good evening, Bongiwe, and good evening to the viewers. Yesterday, Ms. Ramsamy told us another story, especially about the two different Section 27 referral letters or affidavits. And today, that statement was also corroborated by the senior investigating officer at IDAC, Mr. Raphesu. What I could gather from the two affidavits is that probably, as he said it eloquently, that the former head of IDAC went to the head of committee in Parliament, and she presented the doctored, as it is called, the doctored as Section 27 affidavit, meaning that she lied to the members of Parliament, and it was not for the first time. It also came to light when other witnesses testified, even when she testified as well. So there's quite a lot, because when you look at the original affidavit, it talks about the different things: the issue of the big entity, the issue of the abuse of the slush fund or Secret Service funds, and other things. And it also came to light that the issue of Ms. Mukwele was not there. So it shows that, as he said it, Mr. Raphesu, that as much as he was appointed as the lead investigator, but the two, Perumal and Padayachi, due to their proximity to the former head of IDAC, they would get first-hand information before he could even get that information.
And it's also startling, right? Because the more you listen to, for example, Ms. Ramsamy yesterday, and here we are today with Mr. Raphesu, is that she played, and that is the former head of IDAC, that is, she played actually a central role that she led the commission to believe, because a lot of the questions when she was being asked, she would say, you might have to ask an investigator here. I do not remember. You may have to ask them, why did they add this? But then if we get to hear that, for example, yesterday, that she is alleged to have handed over a piece of paper with the names of the witnesses, which she says she doesn't remember where she got the names from. But at the same time, it appears as if she played a much more active role than she possibly led on.
Last time I said the biggest problem here, it looks like the former head of IDAC didn't understand her role as the head of the department, because ideally, the head of the department has got nothing to do with, investigations, like doing physical investigations, the functional part of things. But her role was mainly a strategic role. She was supposed to provide strategic direction to the investigators. But here we are told that she decided to rename this as a project diversion, and she said she would supervise the entire project. Hence, there are investigators appointed to run the project. So that on its own is a red flag. She was not supposed to do that. That is why she would even give names. That when she was asked, I remember when she testified, they asked her that you signed the summon, and now they are named, the names are 12. How did you get the other names? And then she started to blame Ramsamy. She said, no, she got the name from Ramsamy. Hence, Ramsamy had to, lay it bare that the names came from her. And that statement was also supported by the phone voice note that she recorded. And the reason why she had to record there, because initially she said they call her a flip-flopper. She knew that at some point threw her under the bus.
And quite worrying, especially because if you're heading such an institution, the ethics, because something that Ms. Ramsamy also raised yesterday, ethics become, quite critical in this particular job. And I suppose now, I don't know, from a security perspective, you may now want to ask possibly someone like a Mr. Fadil Adams to say, originally, what was your complaint? Because it seems that things were modified over time, and as there was this modification, were you party to it? And I suppose it becomes part of the big question.
It was very interesting on the 11th of August to hear Mr. Fidel Adams testifying, because that question, I'm sure, it will be asked. Because you remember initially, when he wrote to the office of the minister, it had nothing to do with all these things that we are hearing about the case dockets, but it was about the interception of the case dockets in his mind, by the now retired General Patekile in Cape Town. That was his concern. But when it went to IDAC, then it became a different ballgame. But he could not, even when he was approached to submit what we call a supplementary affidavit, the supplementary affidavit was still flimsy. There was no information. He could not provide any evidence. On the 11th of August, it will be very interesting on him.
Yeah, it definitely will be. And there's something else that I just want to get a sense from you on what you're reading of it, because I know the Commission opted not to flighting the messages between herself and Major General Feroz Khan, but just letting us into some of what they say. For example, hey, gorgeous, I miss you, dearest, etc. What was your reading into all of that and this apparent closeness in terms of the relationship, given what she had said about this relationship before?
I'd like to applaud Advocate Silo for what she did, because in my mind, I could say that there was a lot that we could have seen from the WhatsApp messages, but she decided to play a role of showing Ubuntu towards Advocate Johnson. Otherwise, Advocate Johnson by now will be paralyzed. But the little that we've heard and we've seen, it shows that there was a very close relationship between the two. And now it justifies how the reason why she would go as far as sharing a docket that, you remember that issue of Brigadier Pekle, where she alleges that she was assaulted by General Khan. Later it was also testified that the former head of IDAC shared that docket together with the injury report J88 with General Khan. Now we know why the two were very close, Bongi.
As a final one then, Project Diversion, and we then get to hear about investigators quite senior who would then have been party to allegedly some of what has been done here. What picture does it paint for us? And I ask this because yesterday the minister was at pains to explain the composition of staff within IDAC and just who does what and how many people are employed there. But then you now have this apparent group that is, small in nature, and that would be speaking about some of the most important cases. What kind of picture emerges for you here?
The picture that I could gather here is that there's this faction or that group, a group of it was Advocate Johnson, the Perumal, the Padayachis, Ramsamy was also pulled in as well. Pelochan was also part of that group. So you could see that this is the group, and when they were dealing with this, what you could call Project Diversion, even Mr. Sissoko was sidelined. Then it was only this group that was managing that project, even when Mr. Raphesu was appointed as a lead investigator, but still he was sidelined. These were the people who were running with the project. Yes, we understand that as far as demographics are concerned, there are blacks there, there are Indians, and there are Talats, and there are whites. But on this project, the Indian group was leading, Bongi. We can't shy away from that.
Sure, quite interesting, especially when you're now sidelining your head of operations who has no idea that you want to collect dockets. Quite telling, as far as what, is alleged to have taken place here is concerned. So let's see on Tuesday, what else does Ms. Ramsamy then tell us further about what would have happened. Appreciate your time as always, Doc. That's independent security expert, Dr. Mxolisi Mathebula.